Okay guys, today we're going to talk about Haiku Deck, which is a presentation tool you can use for presenting your argument from our project-based learning experience. And you can share your argument and your evidence with an audience. Haiku Deck is a really simple way to do this, yet it's highly visual and really nice to look at. So if it's your first time using presentation software, you might want to try Haiku Deck. Prezi, Powtoon, some of the others might take a little more learning, but I think Haiku Deck is something you could pick up pretty quickly. So I went to Haiku Deck, and I'm just using the free services, which means my Haiku Decks will be public, which you guys can do as well. I've gone ahead and created a couple of slides, and I'll show you how to do a couple as well. Here's my first slide. I just used a photo from my computer, so you can easily go here, click on the picture icon, and then you can go to My Pictures. You can choose a file from your computer here if you want a particular photo. A nice thing about Haiku Deck as well is that it will also let you choose from there a great variety of pictures. You could just type in a phrase into the box here and they'll pull up lots of different images for you. It's really easy to manipulate the text on Haiku Deck. I just did a bolded title here, Improving Learning at Newcomer. Let's go ahead and add Academy. Just clicked on that. Integrating Exercise and the Arts. Let's go ahead to the next slide that I have here. And you can choose lots of different layouts with Haiku Deck. By clicking on the different layouts, you can kind of get a feel for what's best, text comparing to the picture. So that's something you can play around with. One really cool thing about Haiku Deck is if you click on the picture link and then you click on this little circle, you can actually create a chart within Haiku Deck, which is really great for our purposes since all of the groups will be doing their own scientific investigation. So what I did here was just a sample. For example, you might do an experiment where you have a person do different levels of exercise, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then give them a simple recall activity and looking to see if their level of recall improves with the use of exercise. So here are some sample results. You might have found out that 5 minutes of exercise is sort of optimum for recall, that creates the best possible score for students. Maybe you want to show that in your presentation. So here's a really simple pie chart that just lets you can manipulate it here. These are the kids who after 5 minutes of exercise, they got a 10 out of 10. That's a perfect score, so that's 55% of kids. Maybe you go back and check your data and you realize, oh, actually it was only 47%. You can type that in here and it automatically updates the rest of your chart, which is great. So you can continue, to manipulate different numbers here. Let's say that changes to 9. So it's kind of a cool visual way to show your results. This would be nice for maybe pulling out some results from your investigation or your research that you really want to highlight. Okay, let's try our hand at creating a new slide. Let's put here your investigation steps. So maybe you want to explain to your audience what you did in your investigation. And let's go ahead and change this. Let's change the text and make it numbered. So there are lots of different ways here I can display the text, just bulleted in some simple rows with a photo. But since we're doing steps of an investigation, this might be a nice way to do it. So you could say, first gave recall quiz without exercise. Then step 2, maybe you had participant exercise for 1 minute and then gave the recall quiz, which of course would be a different quiz so that you could you know, different same skills, but different quiz so that they wouldn't have a chance to memorize over the course of the investigation. Then maybe you would have the participant exercise for 2 minutes. So maybe here you had the participant exercise for 2 minutes and then gave the quiz. You could add here recorded results. Again, this is just a sample, but this is one way that you could, you know, you list the steps of your investigation. You might create another slide that highlights some of the main ideas that you find in your research concerning exercise and learning or artistic activities and learning. Okay, let's practice pulling up some photos from our computer. If you've already had a chance to look at the ChartGo screencast, I showed you how to plug in your data into some online software on the ChartGo website, and it will plot your data for you in many different kinds of graphs. You can share those charts as URLs, but you can also save them as images. So let's pull up one of those saved images now, and let's put it here in our Haiku deck. So I added a new slide. I just did that by clicking on this icon. I'll do it again to show you, the plus icon. And then let's go over to the picture icon, and let's move away from the chart icon back to picture, and let's search my pictures. I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to choose a file, and I'm going to go under my downloads, and I see right here I have my ChartGo graph that I made earlier this morning. Double click it. I'd like to save it to Haiku Deck, and it pulls that image up for me. And you can use this little icon here will move your image up or down depending on where you would like it to be, and it can also enlarge and shrink your image. So you guys can add your images here, and then you can use them, you know, to display and to talk about in your presentation. Let's see if we can change the layout here. You may want to move your text so it's more like top and bottom, so it's out of the way of your graph. Again, you can play around with the text over here to get it where you want it to go. One other thing I wanted to show you, if you go back under pictures and you click on this icon, it will let you play around with the colors. So for example, if we go back to investigation steps, I could you know, click on different colors here, which you guys might want to play around with this and get a feel for how your information is best displayed visually. When you're ready to preview your Haiku deck, just click on this play button up here. You can add slide notes here. Okay, that'll help guide you in your presentation. For example, you might add some notes here about Newcomer Academy. Newcomer Academy is a JCPS school serving approximately 800 students from 52 countries, so on and so forth. But this is a great place to add some notes so that it will kind of help you recall what you want to talk about in your presentation. You can move through your slides, see how everything looks. You can, of course, expand it for your actual presentation. You can download it to your computer or to a flash drive. And let's look at some other ways to share it as well. Let's go back down here. I'm ready to share it. Okay, you can have it'll give you a URL, so you can go ahead and create a link to it. And it also gives you a way to embed. It gives it a link for embedding it here if you want to embed it into our Blend Space, Project Space, for example, or any other social media platform. It gives you an opportunity to post it as well.